Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm your writer.
Also joining us is Evgeni.
Hi, I'm Argent, and I have only a token show and tell this time. I brought this Nalthus star chart from JordanCon. I didn't have that one. And it is personalized to me.
Nice.
So if you steal it, I will know. Well, I probably won't know because it's going to be stolen. I mean, I will know that it's stolen, but don't steal it from me, please.
Don't also touch your monitor in hopes that you're touch Evgeni. Don't do that either.
I mean, I don't care. If you want to do that, that's as long as you don't inform me.
This is all right. Okay. No. All right. Also joining us is Marvin.
Hi, I'm Paleo.
Hi. And lastly, we got Rosemary.
Hello, everyone. I am Kaymyth, and I do have a show and tell in keeping in the art theme.
Yes.
Someone drew a picture of me in my Mistborn costume from JordanCon, which is really, really cool. And
we met this artist too.
Cute.
Yeah, this is
They drew a lot of people. There are some really, really adorable things. And
Art BZD, and she is very lovely. And
yes.
Yeah,
she drew
really
so many of us
things.
at con. I've seen there's a really cute one of Peter and Karen too. And all sorts of people.
There's one of Mark the Collector in his Doom Slug.
Yes.
And she also had an excellent Shallan in cosplaying with Adolin as well. So that was really well done. So it's lovely to meet these people. And I am Chaos. And what we're going to do is we're going to continue talking about JordanCon Words of Brandon. I'm still sick because we recorded this right after the other one. Hey, just had to go. That's fine. Yeah, we got a crap load more Words of Brandon. The Words of Brandon are going to be in an Arcanum collection in the description as well. So check those out if you want to read them all. Of course, we'll be putting them on screen. Cool. So Ian, why don't you take us in here?
Yeah. This first one is from some guy named Page Runner. His name is popping up a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. They're good, and they're good questions too. Like, oh god.
I suppose.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a long one, so I'm going to summarize. Basically, Page Runner was asking around about the term Ralkalest, which is, as we all know, aluminum.
Yep.
To a certain extent, it's Brandon being cheeky. Like, he likes fantasy names for this sort of thing, like star metal. Like, this it's a hallmark of the genre to a certain extent. And aluminum doesn't really feel mythological.
Sure.
Like, it's a very modern sounding word. Whereas Ralkalest, it's like, ooh, Ralkalest.
Has these weird magical properties.
Yeah. And Brandon does confirm that when somebody says Ralkalest in the books, like, they are saying Ralkalest. Like, this isn't multiple terms all being translated as one thing. It's the same word, which likely comes from the original Yolish language, though Brandon hasn't quite canonized that yet. And then he goes on to talk about how, like, usually when you have mythological terms that transcend the worlds, like, it's going to come from Yolish. Like, and he initially compares it to how Latin and Greek are used in English, but then backs off because, like, those are almost too common. It's more like Hebrew to, like, that mythological, like, ooh, fancy old words.
Yeah. That have just been stolen and perturbed a bit.
It's a nice bit of world building linguistics.
Yeah. And Ralkalest does sound cooler.
It does.
Yep. Let's move on to the next question, which, for a change, doesn't come from Page Runner.
Whoa. Does it?
Wild.
It is that other person, Questioner.
Questioner.
Yes. The most famous, the most prolific wobber of them all.
And so the question is, do Sazed and Kelsier still like each other? To which Brandon says, and I quote, "Yes." The questioner follows up with, thinking of him as Dakhor, I have to wonder, like, he can't be doing things that Sazed would approve of, right? No, says Brandon. He definitely is doing things that Sazed does not approve of. That's an astute observation.
Hey.
They do understand each other, though, right? So then Sazed knows what he's doing. And Brandon says, he knows some of it, yeah, a decent amount. You will find out more in upcoming books. Let's say that the relationship between Sazed and Kel is complicated and strained, but they would still consider themselves friends, would be what I would say. Questioner says, would an Xavier-Magneto relationship be a little... Yeah, not quite so antagonistic, but yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Like they
don't
like hate each other.
I do like the Xavier Magneto comparison a lot. I think that's very, very apt.
Yeah, but definitely I wouldn't say they're that antagonistic, right? Like, right. They understand. They just have different morals and different goals.
And to some extent, like, that isn't all that different from when they both were normal humans. In a way, like, I don't think Sazed would have always agreed, or did always agree with what Kelsier was doing.
Murder all those nobles, probably not. But I feel like Harmony would be like, I know Kelsier's gonna meddle. Like, I can't do anything about this. Like, you're just gonna do that. I know. Just as the wind blows, you're gonna meddle with crap.
Kelsier's gonna kill.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. For the next one, the questioner asks whether, do you anticipate Dalinar having a larger page count in SA5? To which Brandon said yes, which is congruent with what we've heard before, that he wants, or Dalinar will have a very integral role in SA5, like he sort of has to.
Has to. He took a step back in Rhythm of War, but that's what happened with him in Words of Radiance, so, like, not very different. And Brandon's always said Stormlight 5, there'd be a lot more Dalinar, so not unusual in the slightest. The Rhythm of War is already really stuffed. Can't stuff anything more in it. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Next one from Andy Granny.
Okay.
The 5 scholars traveled from Nalthis to Roshar, and intent is very important across all of the Cosmere. But also Cell is actually closer than it is to Roshar. Sick. And from everything we know right now when it comes to intent, the intent of using the Aeons mirrors sort of awakening. So did they travel to Cell as well, and has that influenced the way Nalthians learn to awaken? And Brandon says, that is a raffo for right now. Let's just say that the things that happened on Cell that prevented travel were not in place several thousand years ago. What I sidestepped is whether the scholars had been to Cell. I heavily implied people from Nalthis had been to Cell. Don't take that as in canon, that it's specifically the scholars. That part is a raffo.
Cool. I mean, yeah, obviously, like, a long time ago, there wasn't the door on Cell, right?
We certainly knew that on some level, that prior to the shattering of Cell's 2 shards, it was a lot easier to get to and from.
It's interesting that he refers to this as, like, on this time scale, right? Let's just say the things that happened on Cell that prevented travel, that is the splintering of the shards, were not in place several thousand years ago.
Or, like, it has to be over 7. Because, like, that's kind of how long Odium's been on Roshar, and it was before then.
Oh, I guess. Okay. Sure. I guess I was thinking in the context of, like, the relative timeline between Warbreaker and
Elantris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the scholars were only, like, a couple centuries ago, like less than 1,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, definitely says that it's not likely that it has been them that have been to Cell. So
yeah, I also don't think I really agree with the relationship between Aeons and Awakening that this person is saying. Because like you need to intentionally draw an Aeon, but, like, it's much less of the visualization like Awakening requires. It's a very specific mental thing, whereas this is more like you need to draw the right thing. And like
it's more similar in that all Cosmere magics are similar and that you require intent, and not that these are more similar than the others.
Yeah.
I feel.
So yeah. Okay. Now we have a question from Jaffu. Dalinar had 2 really weird visions. Was that connection-y stuff like he did with Kaladin and Tien? Brandon, which ones are you talking about? Joff, the end of Words of Radiance and in Oathbringer with Nohadon. Brandon, yes, that would be the same sort of weirdness that's happening with Tien. Yes, so you have basically multiple different ways of interpreting this. One is just what Dalinar wants is directly, he's starting to change the vision specifically, and some might argue he is pulling from the beyond. Others would argue that what Dalinar wants feels things in his past. He is actually enforcing upon the vision and is changing and altering the visions. And that part is absolutely going on. It's whether the other thing is happening or not depends on your personal religious beliefs. But Dalinar is the bondsmithing is starting to shape the visions.
This makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Like the end of that Words of Radiance with that warmth is still a little weird. Like I'm not quite sure how Dalinar is influencing the vision, because it's just kind of like a feeling. I don't know. Like it makes more sense with Tien, right? Like that totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. It's like that's what Dalinar needed in the moment. Like he is confronting the fact that God is dead, but like he's also starting to exhibit like there is a God beyond, basically.
Not a lot to go off on that one, but I can believe the Nohadon one, right, is Dalinar like things he's expecting, like he could be putting like certain things into that are making that weird.
It's almost as if he is right. So, okay, with Kaladin and Tien at the end of Rhythm of War, Dalinar is very intentionally trying to send a vision.
Yeah.
I don't know whether in fact, I don't think he is intentionally sending this particular vision. It's more that he is connecting Kaladin to something, unclear what that something is, and then letting things unfold according to Kaladin's own past connections, spirit web, whatever it is. And so I think what we are seeing at the end of Words of Radiance and during Oathbringer with these weird visions is Dalinar's kind of budding, nascent Bondsmith powers not lashing out, but like subconsciously reaching out and like doing connections, doing vision-y things. And he is interpreting those things as first a warmth and then as an actual vision.
Because technically the warmth is before he bonds the Stormfather.
Wasn't it after?
So, no, it's like he wakes up that morning and then he climbs the tower and bonds. Like, formally bonds. Like there were the beginnings of a bond.
Right,
sure,
yeah.
like he swears the oaths.
With this swap, I wish Brandon wouldn't mention the Beyond at all. Like, that's something to talk about on record, but like, yeah.
I think so. He has answered a lot of these like questions that deal with the more mystical side of things in a very scientific, realmatic kind of way, and he hasn't really touched on the religious side of things, right?
That is true.
He's explained a lot about how things could work mechanically in the Cosmere, but not spiritually. And with him repeatedly saying, I want both sides to be valid, I feel like he needs to reinforce that other aspect as well.
Okay, I can see that, yeah. True.
Cool.
Questioner asks, has Wit's bonding a cryptic bound him to Roshar tighter? Brandon, yes. Asterisk.
It's back. Asterisk is back.
Later on, he did have some clarification. The reason for the asterisk on Wit is you've seen him off-world since then. So just be aware there is an issue there, but yes, it's very similar.
Yeah,
so
clearly
he's found some. Yep. He's found some sort of workaround, or he is no longer bounded with 2 design.
Yep, and yep.
Probably the first of those.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's all we need to say about this. So let's move on to the next question, which reads: the warrior monks in Elantris, are they a non-genetic magic system? Bren says, so here's the thing in Elantris. On Cell, you most usually need to be born in a certain location for the magic to work on you from that region. So it's not genetic, meaning if you move there, your children count, right? Regardless of what your genetic heritage and things like that is. But it is regional. And the questioner follows up with, for the core monks, wasn't it that they went to monasteries and trained over time and then they're... So they do have something done to them and does this. But where they are from is directly related to how that works, how powerful it is, and these sorts of things.
Totally makes sense with what we know of Cellish magics. It's not really genetic. Yep. Cool.
And like we know that Elantris is sort of special in a way with the initiation because they did something to it. So,
or at least Eondor was special with the initiation.
Yeah, Eondor, right? Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense. Good to know that, like, you have to be, Fjordell to, I guess, be a Dakhor monk. Like, that's nice to know. So, like, a little bit of Dakhor lore, which is very few and far between there. But, yeah, cool.
It is an excellent question, though. That's not even a problem that I had thought had existed, right? Because usually when we talk about Cellish magics, we talk about Eondor and we talk about
forgery.
Yeah. So cool. Thumbs up, questioner.
So another question was: is what happened in Roshar similar to what happened in Arelon, of being thematically broken due to something, and which Brent made a hesitant noise? And yes, you are correct. I am not sure what they're getting at.
I think this is relating to the binding of Ba'ido Mishram, breaking something fundamentally on Roshar.
Okay. Sure.
So it's like Eondor breaking versus lots of things breaking on Roshar.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was just...
I can buy that.
Yeah, I can buy that. I was just like, what happened on Roshar? What are you referring to? Please comment below. But yeah, no, that makes sense. If you're listening, questioner, first of all, you could totally edit your questions to have your name on it. Just register an Arcanum account. But yeah, let us know what you were thinking there. But that seems likely.
Yeah, context is key.
Context is key.
Yeah, and it's like finding, okay, like something is broken. What is the fix?
Yeah.
Break that gemstone that bams in.
Invested crazy glue.
Draw a line in the greater Hexy region. The magic on Roshar.
With a shard blade, because, it's all stone. Yeah. Stick's not going to do it.
It's because the shattered planes have been worn down on the eastern side.
Yeah. You have to change the shape of your
of your shattered planes. Everyone knows that. Cool.
Great.
Questioner says, is there any chance for a sequel to Elantris? And Brandon says, the chance for a sequel to this is pretty decent. I hope to get to it. My goal is to write them after Stormlight 5, but we will see.
Yeah, this has changed a few times over the years.
He's got an awful lot of stuff on the docket for after Stormlight 5.
Yeah, because at one point he was saying the Elantris sequels have to happen before Mistborn Era 3.
And then later he was like, I'm going to alternate Elantris sequels and Era 3. And now he's just not even talking about the Elantris sequels and is like, I'm at least doing Era 3. And reading it straight through.
Question.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see how these things are different. Cool. Oh,
and
nice.
graph his answer to certain questions as it changes back and
Pretty
forth.
much. Pretty
Yes,
much.
no, maybe later.
Yeah.
Brandon Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah.
Signs point to yes.
Currently.
So this next one's interesting. Questioner, are they, Wax and Steris, gonna have kids? And Brandon says, spoiler, but yes.
I mean, I don't think this is that earth-shattering a revelation, since it was kind of part of the key of him needing to find a wife was to produce heirs.
Sure, I guess.
And,
yeah.
And the financial issues, but I mean, this is something that Steris expected, and it's not that big a surprise. And it would be interesting to see their descendants in the next Mistborn eras.
Yeah,
we can just keep following Breeze's descendants through the ages.
Oh no!
I guess I'm wondering, is this going to be the case in the Lost Metal?
Yeah,
are they going to have kids
soon
there?
Are they going to have kids?
Which, like, the spoiler makes me think maybe, but I don't really like that.
No, I don't like that at all. No.
I would be okay with it if there is like a nanny or a governess, so that it's not ruling Steris' life right now.
Yeah, I would not like that.
I think the reason this is a spoiler is because it is telling you that they will live long enough to have children.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Which, great, please.
Yeah.
It says more about Steris than Wax.
I mean, that's true. That's true. That's a fact.
I mean, I am on the record as desperately wanting Steris to survive Wax and Wayne 4, because I do not need yet another dead wife trope.
What, you don't want another one of Wax's dead wife?
Two of the same character.
Three times.
3 for 3. Wax just his wife.
Wax going for the hat trick.
Only character development. Killing his own wife.
And is it a hat trick if it's the same wife twice?
I mean,
this is like the mummy movies where like he deals with 3 mummies, but it's the same mummy twice.
Yeah, sure.
And that's only if we acknowledge the third mummy movie, which I don't.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Cool.
So this next questioner asked, like, if there is a written version of the Shallan and Adolin wedding scene, and Brandon quite clearly says no, it never existed. The beta readers did not convince him to delete it because it never existed.
Yes.
And Kellen, who is one of the betas, was around and like kind of gave like the background information to Brandon that like people are blaming the betas for something that is not their fault. And so he's like, and now he's planning to write one and say like, oh, like I totally loved this, but Kellen hated it, so I took it out.
Yeah, but it was never in the book, guys. Yeah, just in case you're curious, it was not written because you don't need 2 weddings in the same book. Oathbringer's also a stuffed book.
Brandon didn't think people would want that, and so he didn't write.
Ooh.
Which takes us back to me and me.
Yeah.
So for a bit of irrelevant context, Kara, who was helping to move the signing line along, was giving me a lot of flack.
Yeah, because you kept coming through the line. Yeah, I know.
That was the first time I came back. And
First time he came back.
My statement proven.
Look, we've gone over Page Runner's 15 WoBs.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
And so she gave me a time limit. So listeners, if you go to Arcanum and listen to this WoB, you will notice that I speak slightly faster in there than I do normally. It's because I was literally on the clock. But here's the slowed down version of this. Shush. So I've been trying to figure out how the Fused and the Regals get their Voidlight. Heavenly ones seem to be able to levitate indefinitely unless they heal, which presumably expands some of their light. But when the Pursuer needs to go get spheres. And then there's a Song of Prayer, which I don't understand at all. And Brandon says, all of the fused have an active and an inactive way to use their Voidlight. For some of them, one is way more dramatic than the other. So you should be watching for the different brands of fused, each have that. If they don't use it actively, they get a passive effect. And if they do use it actively, it runs out. So watch out for that. They each only have one power, as opposed to an Ice Radiant, but they have the staying power of consistency depending on what they are. The Song of Prayer. Let's just say that Odium likes his fused being reliant upon him. Does that make sense? And so I think it does. My assumption has been that anyone can just sing the song and ask for investiture. And Brandon says, yes, that's true. Because most of the time he's not going to be paying direct attention and is just going to...
This makes a lot of sense. Now we know what a rare lashing is. Yay!
It is literally rare.
If you are just coming into the show and you did not, you weren't around for the Rhythm of War pre-release stuff when the Heavenly Ones are referred to a rare lashing, as to what does that mean? I think this is pretty clear that the Heavenly Ones get to move themselves whenever, and that's their passive effect, and they can do that indefinitely. Yep. But lashing other things, they do not want to do, generally, because that's the active effect, which they can do, but it's rare.
Yeah. The deepest ones presumably have a passive effect of being able to move through stone.
Right, yeah.
Or melt with the stone.
Yeah, sure.
The Pursuer's active effect is his ability to teleport. We don't know what his passive effect is.
Yeah, like the weird husk thing. Yeah, who knows?
Presumably the Masked one's active effect is their ability to put on an illusion. So interesting to see. Yep.
Yeah.
And interesting to see how it develops in future books, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this next question comes from Eric, who asks on behalf of Ben over Chibus.
Yes.
Another friend, Ben, the one who needed to eat a shrew because Eshonai died, is obsessed with direforms, the regal forms, and would love to know the ability set. And Brandon answered that you can tell him that the ability set will be decided upon as they are relevant to the nature of the story. So
in other words, Rappo, get wrecked, Ben. But you know what? I asked. Ben wanted it asked, so I did. There you go. Yeah. We're not gonna know. So that is a Rappo. Right.
It's the most elaborate and intricate raffle that I have seen.
Pretty much.
Next up, I keep on getting the ones from Andy Granny.
Are you Andy Granny, Rosemary?
I am definitely not.
Is this where we make an old person joke? It's so easy. It's like sometimes like making a short joke about Argent. It's just like, too easy.
For those of you watching who don't know, I am the oldest of the Shard staffers by somewhere close to a decade.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I am 43 years old, and the next oldest person is in their mid-30s.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you don't look at me.
Yeah, you don't. You don't look at
it. And that is the one reason why I am not all that bothered by the old jokes, is because I know I look a decade younger than I am, and I am all about that.
Nice.
You have to believe me.
That's fine.
Since we're talking about old people jokes, why don't you take this question about Lifeless?
Yeah. Yes. So I was already taking. Anyway, from Andy Granny. If you used a lifeless body, would a lifeless be able to access an untapped metal mind? Some issues with phrasing there, but Brandon says unkeyed. An unkeyed type of metal mind? Andy Granny said, thank you. I could not think of that word. Would they be able to access an unkeyed metal mind if the intent, when the Lifeless was created, if the intent was that they could ... Brandon says, right, I see what you're getting at. Yes, they could. As they could access and use any tool that is appropriate for what they were commanded to do, they could indeed access a metal mind in the same way. In fact, doing so may, depending on the metal mind, be dangerous for keeping your lifeless lifeless. There's some interesting, like, gold mines. Gold mines can do some interesting things.
Yeah.
Like, hello?
Oh, like it's healing the lifeless? Okay, sure. Yeah. Uh-huh.
What Bren really wanted is unkeyed and unsealed. Like, I think, because
I am actively ignoring the existence of these words.
We all know what we're talking about.
Yeah, but
I like that comparison though. So like you can awaken a lifeless with the ability to use, let's say, a hammer or a saw, right? And so you can awaken a lifeless with the ability to use a metalmind or presumably a fabrial.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
And maybe if they do like tapping some spiritual attributes, that might also make some weirdness with the lifeness.
Yeah.
And what actually does beg an interesting question to me with like the unkeyed unsealed distinction there is if the lifeless was previously a Feruchemist of the appropriate, or like a full Feruchemist, would they then be able to tap an unkeyed metalmind, like that it's just not, or even a keyed one, like
it's
that
not
they
granting
had in
you
life?
the ability? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Or like even a normal one. Yeah, their own metalmind, yeah.
I would say yes, I imagine.
Yeah.
I think the answer to that's yes.
They would still have enough of their own identity.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting implication, right? Especially when we go to like Claude.
Or like cognitive shadows.
Yeah.
All right. This next one is from...
I love that Grace asked this question.
Yeah, I know. This one's from our dear friend Grace. If a tree falls in the forests of hell and no one is around to hear it, do the shades still get angry? And Brandon laughs. I can hear in my brain exactly what his laugh would be like on this question. And he says, the tree in the Cosmere is self-aware to a very small extent, so it's impossible for a tree to fall with nobody being there, which I think is an excellent Cosmere answer to that. Nice.
I was there, by the way, and Brandon was genuinely delighted by this question.
As he should have been, because that was an amazing question.
Yeah.
Quality.
Thank you, Grace.
So this next one is a quick paraphrased thing Brandon said. Naming a child for Kelsier is not safe, but it's also not a bad idea. I think those are mutually exclusive things.
Well,
not necessarily, because you know you're going to attract Kelsier's attention, which can be good or bad.
Well, I see it like, in his POV, Kelsier's not going to be pure evil. To other people around Kelsier's influence, might not be great for them.
Kelsier will be interested in this kid, which could be good or bad for them.
I think Kelsier is a chaotic good character, and if that is okay with you, then naming a child Kelsier is fine. But chaotic is definitely in there.
Chaotic, very much in there, not lawful. All right, now we got another one from this guy.
Oh, hey, the ever handsome and highly intelligent honey silver-tongued Marvin.
Just had to get that in there before you finished. Yeah, I know why Kara put you on the clock, because sometimes you just talk so slowly. And
look, it's you gotta.
You'll do the ASMR stuff for the channel. That's fine.
When your voice is penetrating the ears of the listeners.
Put your comments below if you want to hear Argent ASMR reading Words of Brandon or something. I don't know. Do you want that on the channel? Like maybe that'll give us the next 10k subs or something. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm very much Spock eyebrowing you right now.
That's a great reaction. Anyway,
the actual question.
It's a good question.
Says in Syl's interlude in Rhythm of War, she is speaking with Dalinar about his powers and the things those powers have done in the past. And what she says is, a bondsmith bound other surges. First of all, what other surges? And Brandon, as will become a theme in his answers, gives the cagiest of cagey answers. One potential interpretation for you on this. Remember, they use surges and spren sometimes interchangeably in world. Just making sure you're aware of that. I refuse to be dissuaded from my line of thinking and say, yeah, I'm aware of that. Pound other surges, though. And Brandon says, that might be what she's talking about. I'm not guaranteeing it. And so instead of digging more into this bound other surges thing, which Brandon, I see you. I see
He
you.
knows. He knows what you're doing.
Oh yeah. No, this was I know what he knows. That he knows that I. So I go in a different direction. So the term Bondsmith, to me, it seems like she's talking about Ishar and the Ashen stuff. So would they use Bondsmith to describe him in that place? And Brandon says, so one other thing to keep aware in the Cosmere. For instance, they call light weaving any illusion-based magic working on the same fundamentals. And so you could argue, and people will use it that way in world, that bondsmithing is both an order of the Knights Radiant and a power that exists outside of that order. And I follow up with, and that would be maybe the power of connection, the same way light weaving is the power of illusion. And Brandon says, yep. And for instance, there were not else colors to get people between Ashen and Roshar, but on Roshar, they would explain what happened there as else calling. Does that make sense? And I say, yeah, as much as these things can make sense, yes.
Brandon has fully embraced trolling Evgeni.
Oh, yeah. This is why I don't ask questions anymore, honestly. Like, I just, my questions aren't good enough. He'll just troll me.
The better he knows you, the more he will mess with you.
Absolutely.
That's
a
true.
fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense with else calling, for sure.
Yeah. That's the easiest one to knock out, right?
Yeah.
If you are moving between worlds, Rosharans are going to say you're else calling.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. That is not necessarily what's happening with bondsmithing, right?
Yeah.
So when Syl says, well, she doesn't say that, but if she were to say, hey, there was a bondsmith on Ashen, what she means is there was somebody with connection power on Ashen, not that the order of bondsmiths existed there. That's different.
And that's basically what we thought would be the case. Because, Ishar wouldn't even have an honor blade, but clearly similar power sets at the time. Yep.
And then the final thing, which is the first thing, which I have no good thoughts on, was the one potential interpretation for, binding other surges. Is like Rosharans are bad at names, essentially. So do we think that what Syl is essentially saying is that there was some magic on Ashen and somebody with connection powers bound, whatever that means, those other magics? So maybe Ishar, maybe all she's saying is that.
Good. I have to zoom in on that when I'm editing. Oh, it's so good.
So is the only thing she's saying that somebody with connection powers gained additional powers on Ashen and things went bad?
Man, I don't even know anymore. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like this is just I don't know if we're ever gonna know what the hell that means.
Mm-hmm. I'll just keep this on my list.
Yeah.
Along with honors purposes.
Not a question I received an answer for.
The net amount of information we have after this WoB is
it's almost negative.
Changed.
It's almost negative. We're almost more confused now.
Well, the bondsmithing thing, the comparison with light weaving, I think is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
but about other surges, he bound a spren, which they're calling a surge. Great, thanks. Kusakesh is a surge, guys. Easy. The surge of time. And Doctor Strange is gonna come in. It's like odium, I come to bargain.
Let's go away from my questions.
let's
only pain lies here.
Mm-hmm.
You do it to yourself.
Cool.
So, moving along.
This
next series of questions comes from Billy, the Sender Trek organizer, right?
Yep, he runs Sender Trek. Yep, and he said this was very accurately paraphrased, and I trust Billy.
Yeah. Okay, so Billy asks, you previously said that there's a shard that has decided to go into hiding and looking to survive. Yes, from Brandon. It's sort of practicing the art of not being seen. Yes. Is that shard the same shard as Autonomy, or is it a different shard? Is what Billy asked next. Brandon said that he likes the way he worded that. But no, it's not the same shard as Autonomy. So I think that's the first time we've actually explicitly heard that it's not one of the, it's not this one. And then Billy followed up the other shard. Have we seen it on screen? Rafa, have we seen it practicing the art of not being seen on screen? Also Rafa. And yeah. So
props to Billy on the Monty Python reference there.
Mm-hmm. We did note that this shard wasn't one we've seen before. That was in 2011. Yeah. That was the original thing I asked when I got this in my book.
But at the time, we hadn't really seen Autonomy anyway.
Well, but there's still Trell stuff in Alloy.
Yeah.
Right, so you can... there's room
Brandon
for...
could easily hair split his way around that, though. Yeah. Which is why the way Billy phrased that worked.
Yeah. Just daily reminder, the shard is not called Survival, okay? It's not its name. Kelsier doesn't hold it. we don't know if Kelsier holds it, but it's not called Survival. The intent is not about surviving. It's not what it's about.
I actually find it kind of nice that I landed on this one because I also asked about survival shot.
Yeah, because you got the thing about that, surviving isn't the most important. Yeah, so I think Billy thinks it's not one of the 4 new ones in Rhythm of War. Mm-hmm. He thinks it's this wisdom thing, and so it's one of the 2 last ones that we don't have. That's what he thought.
I also don't think it fits any of the Rhythm of War ones.
Not perfectly, but hard to say.
True,
yeah.
Okay, so we have yet another question from Page Runner.
I'm shocked.
But this is not a question asked of Brandon. It is a question asked of Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked Isaac to personalize his Cosmere system chart set with snarky comments from Naz complaining about every planet. And Isaac says, well, they're not going to be canon, but he'll write them.
Okay.
And they're fun.
Yeah.
So first off, Threnody, which... for those of you who don't know, Threnody is Naz's homeworld.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, we'd love to get back here if you'd just loan me that thing. And he says this is the one that's the least canon of them all. Isaac has some ideas about what the thing might be that Naz wants, but he hasn't run any of them past Brandon yet.
Cool.
Haldane. Dark side parties are the best. After he wrote it, Isaac noticed that it wasn't a complaint, but he said that it was true, and we'd see why.
Okay, cool. We have very little dark side lore, so great, cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Give me the
Argent. I cannot tell you how much I hate Cell, yet you keep sending me back, you sadist. Before he wrote it, Isaac said that Naz had been stuck on Cell before, so he had a special dislike for the planet.
Cell seems like a place that would be difficult to get out of if you're stuck there, so that makes sense.
You know, what this makes me... I have no idea whether this is the case, but what it makes me think is, what if the problem with leaving Cell is... obviously it's difficult, the whole plasma thing in the cognitive realm.
Uh-huh.
But what if you can only leave, at specific times? So, think planetary alignment, but it has nothing to do with the planets.
What?
So, maybe there's a ball of plasma that covers 99% of Cell's cognitive realm, and it's swirling. And so the only times you can leave is when the safe spot is over the perpendicularity.
Yeah. It's like the weeping for the plasma storm.
Sure.
Where there are no high storms you have to worry about. It's like a safe.
Maybe.
I think that's a cool idea.
Because the reason I'm thinking is because why would someone who knows how to get in and out of cell be stuck there?
I think it's just door stuff. So, I mean, like you're basically just elaborating on it difficult because of the door, and maybe there's.
And
like
what if Naz was there? The first time he was there was when Devotion and Dominion got splintered. He got in just fine, and then he had to figure out how to get out.
Oh my god.
Naz would be very old.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be. I mean, we know Chris is that old.
Yeah.
Chris is from White Sand, and White Sand is like one of the earliest things in the timeline.
It's not Devotion and Dominion splintering early, though.
Oh, that's true. Though I don't think we know exactly how.
We don't know.
That would be.
Yeah. I never got the impression it was that much further in the past.
Sure.
It might be Brandon just hasn't pinned that down yet.
No, that's fact.
All right.
Give us more, Rosemary.
Yes, we got 4 more planets. All right, Nalthus. Too colorful. It makes me sick. Shadows.
Okay, yeah.
Dromanod. Do not skinny dip on first. Just warning you.
Sounds good.
Does he know this from experience?
Of course.
Because I would love it if he knows this from experience. That's hilarious. The Scadrial is awesome. Scadrial, this place just hasn't been the same since the change in management.
It's too boring, too much like Yolan now. Slave.
I can provide a little bit of context to this one. Because I was hanging out with Isaac. And so Paige had gotten the first few of these signed, written, whatever. And so I was hanging out with Isaac, and he was like, I didn't get to finish Page Runner's personalization things. I've got Scadrial left. And he had one more left. I don't remember which one. And he was wondering what to write about Scadrial. And so he iterated a few times on the idea of, what if he complains about the appearance of harmony, essentially. So that's where that came from.
And finally, we have Roshar. This place again? It smells like fish.
I bet it does. I bet it does.
Hate fish.
That's fun. Cool. All non-canonical, but like half of these are like at least like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So sure.
Yeah.
So this next one, Brandon says, Southern Scadrians have low natural body temperature. This is related to their cold intolerance. Cool. Nice.
Yeah. Which is important because if you read the back supplement, they say the opposite, and that is not how things work.
Yeah.
I understand that my body temperature is a little bit lower than average, and I do get cold easily. I mean, not like freeze to death in normal, comfortable temperatures cold, but my feet are often ice blocks.
So this next one might be our first word of Karen.
I think that we read, yeah, maybe.
I mean, I've emailed her before, like for leaking stuff.
Yeah, but like on the show, I don't know if we've. If not, it's a rare occurrence. And so, this is coming from a conversation where she's talking about the planning for the rewrite of White Sand for the graphic novels. We had a brainstorming meeting and said, okay, Ice should be a woman rather than a man. We need more gender balance in the story. And then one thing that a couple of us thought about and talked about ahead of time was the very ending. Because the conflict between Kenton and Dryle was, are we going to sell our services as mercenaries and betray our independence? Or are we going to keep going the way we always did? And over the course of the book, Kenton says, okay, we're going to sell our services, and we're going to sell you our services, and we're going to sell you our services. And so by the end, when he realizes that Dryle is not the bad guy, having him die in that battle just seemed wrong. So that's why we had him survive and had Kanan say, okay, you had a good idea, and I did like the way you went about it, but having your input in that can be a very valuable thing. That was one of the big changes that got made. And when we talked to Brandon about it in that meeting, he was like, oh yeah, you guys are totally right. Over time, you guys got better story instincts than I had when I wrote it in the first place.
Cool. Nice.
An interesting little insight in the translation of the manuscript into graphic novel. So that concludes our 2 signing lines. We did most of one last time, and we finished them today. So we are now moving on to the general Q&A, which was the Q&A after the 10 p.m. reading of the Lost Metal prologue. So a lot of these are going to be dancing around spoilers. But also a lot of them are actually touching on spoilery things. It's just the phrasing is
yeah. Oh man, one of these is really hilarious.
Yeah. And so the first one of these comes from somebody whose name I would probably be able to remember if I listened to the audio. Yeah. But we're gonna start with a bunch of disclaimers, so Brandon can say, "Well, a shard can do this, right?" If a regular awakener, just a mundane awakener with nothing more than a few hundred breaths and no any other outside influences, is there some command they could give to a blanket to get the blanket to turn warm, generate heat? Is that a normal thing you can command? And Brandon says, not in just normal situation. I mean, technically, you could tell a blanket to start rubbing one part against another to generate heat, right? Or something like that, or set yourself on fire. But that's not what you're asking. For awakening to work, you have to work within the intrinsic properties of the matter you are making, except it can move around a bit and a few other things that it can do. It's not outside the realm of possibility you could activate those breaths as investiture to do something else, but you would need more than just simple magic of awakening.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense on all things. Maybe those other things you can use breath for. I think we were talking in the Awakening article, or in the Awakening podcast rather, are more activating the breaths differently than just awakening.
It reminds me of like activating breaths reminds me of Sion Aeon actualization.
Well, we're gonna have one at the end of this, so that's great. Great question there.
This next one is just Brennan talking about the upcoming books, or like his upcoming schedule in general. That Wax and Rain 4, like he wants to have it finished by the end of August, I think, and then it'll take until probably November next year for it to come out, because that's like the normal publishing schedule. And then theoretically he'll be finishing the fourth Skyward book soon thereafter for release, about a year after that. So 2023 sometime we'll have Skyward 4.
Yeah.
Skyward 4, yeah. And then we're looking at spring of 2023, as I just said, for that. And then Stormlight 5 in fall of 2023. And that's what he thinks they're looking at. And he's warming. And I am warning up front, Stormlight 5 is the ones I will let slide. The one I will let slide a little if I need to, because it's the end of a sequence and the deadline doesn't need to be as strict because it doesn't bump back things as much. So it's possible that Stormlight 5 goes into the spring of 2024. We'll see what happens there. So
a bit of additional context that wasn't transcribed, but Brandon was talking about just like the publishing industry and how when he finishes the final draft, they publish it now very quickly, and publishers do not like doing that normally at all. Like they usually like 18 months of after it's turned in until it is published. So they're doing a lot of things. The pace is very breakneck, and so Brandon was saying how he's actually ahead on Lost Metal for the first time in a while. And he was like saying how due to COVID, he traveled a lot less. And so for him, he's actually ahead for once.
And for anyone who's upset about the possibility of a Stormlight book getting pushed back, I would counter with the fact that we know that these Stormlight books are absolutely putting Dragonsteel staff through the ringer every time. And to give them a little bit more time to get it done, spare them a few thoughts, because if it makes it easier on them and it reduces their stress, I am 100% behind that. I will wait a little longer for a book if it means that we don't have another member of Dragonsteel that stresses themselves into, an ER visit or something.
Which actually happens.
I want Stormlight 10. I don't want them all to die getting Stormlight 5.
Yeah. And like Brandon already pushed Words of Radiance back. So Words of Radiance was supposed to be, November 2023. He pushed it back to March. So we've had that before. Even just on Brandon's end, like I think if he needed to spend another month doing a last draft of Stormlight 5, the book would get better. And Brandon was also talking about like he was balancing, he really doesn't want to let Stormlights become every 4 years because it'd be very easy to do. But I do think it does make sense that Stormlight 5, if you're going to push one back, if it needs a bit more time, you better make Stormlight 5 ending be frickin' great,
Yeah.
So that all makes sense to me. I'm happier, to wait for a bit better book. I've always thought, Brandon probably balances like, he could have done another draft of Rhythm of War. Maybe that would, solve some other people's complaints. But he's like, I would rather put out a Stormlight book every 3 years. And, if he spent 10 years on each Stormlight book, they'd probably be even better. But he'd rather just put out more books. So.
And if you spent 10 years on a Stormlight book, you'd take 100 years to get them all out, and we don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. He knows how much he needs to do because he wants to get these done, and so the books are not going to be perfect. But I do want Stormlight 5 to be awesome. So here's up.
And as far as the team is concerned, you also have to keep in mind that like the Words of Radiance, Leatherbound will be coming up, which will be a lot of work for them. And they've already worked themselves really hard with like the Way of Kings, Leatherbound, and Rhythm of War in the same year. So it's totally understandable if like for all of their health and sanity to have Stormlight 5 moved back.
Yeah. I actually think it would be better in that regard to have. So Stormlight 5 comes out at the end of 2023, and then actually the 10th anniversary of Words of Radiance is 2024.
Yeah, I don't.
Words of Radiance came out in March 2014.
I don't know why Brandon keeps saying, "Oh, we'll do the Words of Radiance Kickstarter in 2023." I'm like, they've repeatedly said that.
He also said next year one time, so I think Brandon has just fallen into the trap of time is an illusion.
Pretty much.
It could be that they want to start the Kickstarter like in 2023 to have it ready roughly by the actual anniversary in a way.
Maybe. It's hard for me to say.
Yeah.
Not worried either way.
It's weird. Yeah.
Anyway, look, like delaying video games, we can all wait a bit more for a better product. Yep. And I'd rather not have a worse product up front. Cyberpunk. And many other games that you can think of.
Yeah.
Next one, questioner. With regards to certain experiments, would it be fair to say Ishar and a certain Scadrian have similar goals?
I love this.
And Brandon makes some hesitation noises and says, I don't know that I would say that 100%. The certain Scadrian you reference has been able to achieve the goals that he wants. Let's see if I can circumlocute this. There's a certain set of bones floating around that already has a connection to this individual, which was useful in achieving what he wanted to do, which is not a luxury that Ishar has.
Ooh, Kelsier's bones! So, they're talking about Kelsier here. It's in the general Q&A, so they're avoiding spoilers here. But Wow. So Kelsier's bones did survive the Catacendra. And as we talked about on, not last time, but the one about Tensoon in Brandon's mind at some point was like he was going to be with Kelsier's bones, pretending to be Kelsier and believing that he would be. And it would have been Tensoon as Dakhor. Anyway, so that didn't happen. But Kelsier's bones are useful. And so I guess somehow useful for Kelsier to get that body.
I mean, having a part of your physical self that you can attach your spirit to, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty common theory, I think, that like it's literally just like basically a Kandra, but it's not an actual Kandra, but they uplifted a mist wraith with Kelsier's bones and implanted his soul or whatever, or like attached his soul to it, and that's how he got a body. And I think this lends a lot of credence to this theory.
I mean, it does, because how do you get the fleshy bits? Like, yeah. But like at the same time, the Kelsier presumably to make the bands needed to have all 16 powers, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, standard Kandra creation procedures do not allow elemancy. Or Farademi, just straight up.
There are a lot of pieces to this that we're missing. We don't know when he made the band. I mean, we don't know when he actually gets his bones, whether the bands were made prior to him finding the bones. Because during the Stormlight series, he's trying to figure out how to get off of Roshar, or off of Scadrian. And Brandon seems to imply in his answer here that getting his bones would have been the key to making that happen. So therefore it follows that it takes him a while to track them down, and he made the bands before he got hold of his bones.
I disagree with some of this, if not a lot of this. So what we know from Rhythm of War is that he wants Kalak because Kalak has an infliction similar to the one he has, right? Which could be the off-world travel, but it could also be the problem that cognitive shadows have, in which they change according to perception and they change according to the intent of the investiture that has made them cognitive shadows. So my read is that maybe Kelsier is still bound to Scadrian. He probably still is. I think we have a word of Brandon that he's still bound. But the reason he wants Kalak is because he wants to figure out, okay, how do I not go insane? And so in that context, he could have gotten his bones like a few years after the Catacendra, because we know that he goes to the southern continent.
Yeah, it was a few years
soon after that. Yeah, and he obviously has a body at that point, and he has the eye spike.
Yeah.
So the bones, I think, have helped him acquire a body and have a presence in the physical realm and regain his access to the metallic arts, which he didn't have in the cognitive realm, and which reminds me of the Lifeless WoB from earlier, where a Lifeless can use their own previous metalminds.
Well, that was our assumption.
Yeah.
But they can use metalminds at all.
They can use metalminds.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but I thought the affliction where the cognitive shadows go crazy was more attributed to living too long and having too many memories in your head.
That was my impression, yeah.
More than is like the investiture is changing.
That was my impression, Ian. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think that's a factor, but I think it's more the memory thing.
I will concede that point, but the underlying thing is Kelsier wants to not go insane, not Kelsier wants to get off world in the context of the Kalak stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if just the achieving the goals that he wants was just getting a body. Not necessarily leaving Scadrial, necessarily. Because like...
as far as the question is concerned, I'm thinking that it's just about the body.
Yet again, Brandon is so cagey, we can't even agree on what question he's answering.
But
So general Q&As.
Yeah.
And regarding the how could he get elements if he was in a Mistwraith or in a Kandra body? I think it's just a multi-step process. Like he uses Kandra body sort of as bootstrapping his way into the physical realm, and then because he couldn't go through proxies all the time, he just couldn't handle it anymore. And I said, okay, I need to do this myself, and maybe so it's not as simple as, okay, I don't have a body, I have a body again. It's more, okay, first I'll do with this slightly less or slightly worse body, and then I'll work my way towards a proper body.
Eric, I think your point is Kandra don't have metallic arts by default, but it's not Kelsier is turning into a Kandra.
True. That's true.
He's using Mistwraith meat to make a body.
That's true.
He's still
definitely room for
because being a Mistborn is still attached to his spirit web, so he may not need to do anything special to the body in order to regain his allomancy. All he needs is a physical form.
That is certainly possible. There two different ways to go there. We've debated before. Certainly possible with the allomancy. I agree.
Yeah.
So, also in general Q&A, Argent asks, investiture in the Cosmere, when used, goes to the spiritual realm, except in one place. He's talking about Cell. What determines which realm investiture returns to when it's being used? Brandon, too many factors for me to actually say right here, Evgeni, so I'm going to raffo this one. There are a lot of reasons that it could go in different ways, in different places. And Billy asks, how many of those reasons are rule of cool? Brandon, rule of cool is definitely a reason. I think he's trying to get at why on Cell things are weird, and I have not explained why things are weird on Cell yet.
Spoilers, I was trying to get at why things are weird on Cell.
Yeah, obviously, yes. Because we had just recorded our other Words of Brandon episode.
Yeah. about that respawn point.
Yeah, that respawn point on the investiture. But, so I think Brandon's referring here, we know the investiture's in the cognitive realm, but we don't know the mechanics on how Odium did that and the specifics of what that really means, right? Just more generally.
It is obviously this is mostly just a raffo, and there isn't much to gain out of it. But it is interesting to me that he says there are many reasons that determine where investiture goes when it's being used. Because I can't think of many reasons. I can think of maybe two.
Yeah. I mean, he could be referring to the well doesn't go back to the spiritual realm. The well's weird. There's a lot of weirdness in a lot of different situations, I think.
Yeah, but it does though, right? It's just it siphons back into the physical over 1,000 years.
Yeah, because it pierces all three realms, so it just takes time for to get back into the physical or something, I guess.
It's that spiritual humidity needs to refill the well.
Sure. Yeah, which appears in the physical. I'm just saying there's room for weirdness, and Brandon's I don't want to talk about the weirdness.
Which is fair.
Yep.
This next one is from Trey Cooper. In the past, we deeply discussed the mechanism with which breaths are decided to be doled out or endowed on Nalthis. And you said there is an intellect that is doling them out, but that their intentions or that their goals are difficult to predict or non-standard. And my question is, are they non-standard because the base vessel behind them does not have, at its core, a standard human psychology? Brandon, Raffo, good question. Excellent question, Raffo. I like the way you're theorizing. I have said before that there are multiple non-human vessels in the Cosmere, so your theorizing perhaps is going to bear fruit. And then there are a whole bunch of people yelling things out, and somebody said Chulz. And Brandon continued, did someone say Chulz? No, it's not the Chulz. There are no Chulz that are holding shards in the Cosmere.
Yeah.
And this is Trey's sneaky way of trying to figure out whether Edgeley is a dragon.
Yep, that's right.
Yes. And so this, I think, is another check in box. And like, I have been ridiculed on this show for years.
I think that's a little dramatic.
It is accurate.
Yeah.
You have made fun of me for my
I make fun of everyone.
Earnest belief that Edgley is a dragon.
You have been made fun of for your
zeal,
not for the idea you have
the idea is
for.
fine.
I think most of us actually think she's a dragon.
Yeah, I agree.
Zeal only increased to the point it was because people didn't like it when I proposed it. And I kept proposing it, and you're all like, no.
I'm just saying it's not based on much, but like, yeah, sure, totally could be true.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I'm on board.
But I will say, even as this WoB doesn't really say much, I think it leans a little bit. It's a cheeky. I see what you're saying. I'm not going to confirm it, but also I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. And I think this also trails back to the fact that Trey has been trying to tease this information out of Brandon for years, and Brandon keeps catching him and going, haha, no, Raph.
Yeah. I wouldn't relate to that at all. Aiden Alcium's opposition and the weapon. I have no relation with that.
Trey's great. I love Trey.
Oh, I love this next one too. I just really like the way that people have gotten around spoilers in the questions. It's excellent.
It was fun. So that the next question doesn't come from the lovely Trey. It comes from somebody else in the audience who says, the 17th Shard was looking for a certain individual on Roshar. Have they found him yet? Or what are they doing? And Brent says, they never managed to find him. He's tricksy, as you might imagine. He's tricksy hobbit. We're the Brandon listeners. Hoyd is a hobbit.
Is a tricksy hobbit. A tricksy hobbit.
He's got very hairy feet.
He might. He needs to use
this was late in the evening, and Brandon was slap happy.
Yeah.
And so they never managed to find him. They think they got close a couple of times, but they actually didn't. And by the point of Rhythm of War, they've given up and left planet because he kind of went behind their backs and was talking to people and things like that. We will catch up with those three at some point, I hope, and find out what they've been up to. They keep looking in the wrong countries.
Obviously, this is talking about that Ishik interlude with Galdon, Bayon, and Demo.
Yep.
Looking for Hoyd. Yep. Rip. Hilarious.
If they had just stayed a little bit longer, I think they would have found out that Hoyd had become the Queen's wit.
That's true. Maybe they're off in Erie or something.
Yeah. I kind of want the novella between Way of Kings and Words of Fates to be just from them.
That would be funny.
Oh, that'd be great.
Them going around in all the countries and like, have you seen this man?
That would probably not be great if you go directly from Way of Kings to Words of Radiance and like you're reading it there, but that would be very fun.
Amazing.
This next question comes from Ted Herman, who wants to know, a certain person went to a certain friend and got a boon and a curse. And later on, very recently, their fortunes have risen very high, very fast. Is the boon and curse still in effect? And Brendan, of course, Raph put it, but you will get answers in the 5th book about that. Excellent question, but this is a Rapho with a yes, it's coming, not a nebulous Rapho.
So this is Teravangian, obviously.
Teravangian as
there was much laughter as this person was like going through on the path to ask this question.
I think I made a note to Eric after this was happening and said, This question sounds very much like who's that Cosmere character.
This is the person has a spread.
Person went to a certain spren. That's clue 1. Got a boon and a curse. It's clue 2. Their fortunes rose very high.
Yeah, very fast. Yes. I still don't think they are in effect. But it didn't seem that way at the end of Rhythm of War, but I imagine we're just gonna have it be more solid in book 5.
Yeah.
All right. Next one up. Questioner asks, can Hoyd eat soulcast bacon? And Brandon says yes. He could probably eat lab-grown meat if he knew it was, or magic-grown meat. He probably could. His psychology would be influencing this, right? Which is why I say probably, but the magic would allow it. And then Billy breaks in and says, if somebody lied to him about the nature of the meat, could he eat that? Brandon says, no. Well, okay, if they lied and said it was soulcast, yes, then he probably could. And another questioner says it's based on his perception, and Brandon says it's based on his perception, yeah.
Interesting.
I think for context, for people who don't know, like, Hoyd can't eat regular meat. Like,
and he can't hurt people.
From it. He can't in general.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
That makes sense. Cool. Then we have, questioner asks, we had some unnamed shard name drops in Rhythm of War. Have there been any kind of whimsical machinations on screen, or have they been mostly absent? Brandon Raffos. Sorry. I think there's a mention of whimsy in Wax and Wayne 4. So, capital W, whimsy. Woo!
Wait till not spoil Brandon.
I mean, Harmony knows. Harmony knows about the other shards, so it might just be a throwaway comment from Sazed. Or it could be something more serious. We don't know.
Oh, man.
Trill is whimsy.
So wild.
Give me.
I'm still certain that the Whimsy's shard world, if they have one, is a place of adorable
ponies.
Peril.
Adorable peril, yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's a kind of magic
amazing,
system.
and it is beautiful, and it will absolutely kill you the minute you are not paying attention. It is like the Disney version of Patchy. That is my headcanon.
It's hard mode in
the kite magic system, and the mention of whimsy will be that in the broadsheets we'll have kite seatings, weird kite seatings in, I don't know, the roughs.
Nice. Well, yeah. I don't think I could get more excited for Lost Metal at this stage. I'm ready.
Every now and then I forget how excited everyone at Dragonsteel was to tell us about how exciting the Lost Metal was, and then I remember and I get super hyped again.
It's gonna be good.
So this next questioner asked about Seons, near and dear to my heart. Do Seons automatically know what they mean? Like, was Ashi created being like, I am Ashi and I mean light? Or did he have to have someone draw him and see what happened? Brandon, no. He knows intrinsically. Good question. I have a slight issue with this.
Okay.
Oh boy.
In that Brandon has said that the meanings of the effects of Aeons obviously don't change. Like, they are what they are. But the meanings can shift over time. Which is why I means wisdom, but does healing.
Okay. But, I mean, they're splinters. They're a lot like Spren. They can be influenced by people's perception of things. And so, at any given point in time, they could be aware of people's perception of the Aeon, and thus immediately know what it means, maybe. Perception mumbo-jumbo here.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Syl and her kind of self-discovery. I'm a Spren that bonds thing. Oh, I'm an honor Spren. Like, she didn't need to be told she's an honor Spren. Now, maybe she remembered, right?
Yeah.
But it also could have been something that just she felt intrinsically.
Yeah. I think this is just like, they know what their Aeon does.
Sure.
It's not like the meaning in language, but the meaning in
the magic.
Yeah, in the magic.
The way I thought of this when I heard this, I by far do not have a complete picture of how this feels significant. I don't entirely know how significant this is. But it made me think of intent. like Shardic intent, investiture intent in that context. So a Scion would have an inherent or intrinsic understanding of its own intent. Is my thought. Which has interesting implication in the context of, well, Scions have an Aeon that is in their heart, and Aeons, like much of the writing system on Cell, or maybe just Arelon, I don't remember my WoBs anymore, predates a lot of stuff.
They're old,
on Cell.
for sure.
Yep.
And so it does make me wonder whether Aeons and by extension Scions are like, I don't want to say avatars because that has
Good call.
a million other meanings, but like, I don't want to say honors purposes because I hate that phrase, but like, what if they're like aspects of devotion, right? Each one of them is like a tiny, tiny sub-intent of devotion, a facet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what Spren are, in a sense, like sub-intents of like honor and cultivation with various mixing. So I think that's basically what is happening, right?
Yeah, but so Spren, like, I think all of honor Spren are, or at least before the splintering of honor, I think all of the honor Spren were kind of the same facet. And obviously there was like room for individuality and things like that, but I think they all expressed honor.
Sure.
And in that way, Scions, or maybe Aeons, are like, each Scion is like an individual Spren type, almost. Like a Spren, the same way all of the other Spren express the same thing, this one Scion expresses the same thing.
Yeah, I could buy that. Yeah, sure. Elantris sequels, man. Wow.
God, it's going to be so wild to revisit Elantris after like 20 plus years.
Yeah, that's going to be a weird one. There's definitely stuff going on there. But.
And to end these two episodes, we finish where we began with Grace, the Gator Girl.
0-0.
0-0. Assuming they have the same years of experience, who would have a better understanding of object souls? A Radiant Soulcaster or a Forager? And Brandon says, it's going to depend on the individual. I think that they both could make an argument, and I'm not sure. I think it's going to be neck and neck, which is not a groundbreaking answer, but it's an interesting question and an interesting answer.
Yeah, not a lot to speculate on, but that's another excellent question from Grace. Sorry she couldn't be here today. But excellent questions all around.
Good event for WoBs.
Yeah, very, very fun. It was fun to meet everyone. If you were at JordanCon, it was a pleasure meeting you. And yeah, I definitely think I'm going to be there next year. So, which will be in April. It's not usually in July. It was moved due to COVID. So
I have created another devotee.
I should hopefully be there. It's everybody decided they were going to go this year, like 2 days after I RSVP'd. No.
Oof. Oof.
But next year, 2022, is going to be what we refer to as a birthday year, in that JordanCon lands on my birthday. And it also lands on Drew McCaffrey's birthday, who is one of the hosts for Inking Out Loud. Yeah. And we share birthday and birth year.
Oh wow, that's kind of
born on the same day.
And we also share very healthy interest in Chris. So if any of these things are interesting to you, come join us next year.
And Brandon will not be there because he doesn't come every year.
He was doing every other, and now he's had to drop it back to about every third.
Yeah,
because he's just too busy.
But
Peter will probably be there. Yeah. Karen will probably be there.
I don't know
Isaac, maybe Kara.
I don't know that Peter's ever missed one, honestly. He loves that con very much, and it's not just because of what it's about. It's because of the people.
It was a nice, smaller atmosphere. Really nice. Cool. Well, let's head on over to Who's That Cosmere Character?
This character is from Roshar.
Menace, Tien,
Tom,
Raise.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character? Caw. Welcome to Who's That Cosmere Character, where the game show where you send in 5 clues and a character to WTCC at 17thshard.com, and all these guys have a chance to guess who's that Cosmere character. All right, this first one is sent by Brock Duclos. In clue 1, this character is light-eyed.
Raiden.
It's not Raiden.
It's like, does that mean that they're from Roshar, or is this a red herring? We don't know. All right.
It means they're light-eyed.
Let's
go
with. I'll go with Adolin.
It's not Adolin.
And I will never stop pronouncing it Adolin.
You and Jess both.
Because I guess last episode I'm going to guess General Carl again.
No, it's not General Carl. No.
Navani.
It's not Navani. Clue 2. This character kills a king.
Well, you know.
King Iadon, who commits a suicide.
It's not King Iadon. I think that is still regicide, though.
I don't actually remember what color Zeth's eyes are, but we'll go with Zeth.
It's not Zeth.
Yeah, it's like it's too obvious. For
yeah, but you gotta cover the obvious ones because everyone's
sometimes it's
that person.
Oh no, but he.
Is it Seolin?
No, it is not Seolin.
Because I think technically at that point, Telrai claims to be king.
Oh god, I can't remember.
I applaud your interesting guess. As a connoisseur of interesting guesses myself.
I'm not sure if he counts as light-eyed.
I'm sad that Paleo didn't guess one of the horses. But I don't think one of the horses killed
I
King.
was tempted to guess. Light-eyed. But is it Relis Rutha,
it's not Relis.
Heterochromatic one?
Yeah. An alternate universe where it is not Adolin who stabs Sadius in the eye, it's Shardblood who stomps him to death.
Yeah, but I don't think Relis is heterochromatic.
But who is it that
Well, it's not Relis, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Clue 3. This character appears in a flashback.
I know who it is.
Yeah, I think you're right, Paleo. I think it's the one you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Which one?
He's thinking of the heterochromatic son of the king of Yakaved.
Yeah.
Whom we see we see him die in when Taravangian meets him, but I also can't remember his name.
So is that your guess, Marvin?
It is my guess, yeah.
Okay, yes, it is Redden, and so you got the R, but I'm like, it's not Relis. But then you said heterochromat, and it's like, well, it is that one, but no. I don't know if Redden definitely died.
The king died.
The king died.
Yeah,
king
he
died.
did.
Yeah, that
was the clue.
Yeah. Clue 4 was this character interacts with the Devar family. And clue 5, this character is dark-eyed, which I think is very cute. I like that.
I don't think he's either light-eyed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point.
You could say he's light-eyed in standing, basically. Like, he gets treated like a light-eyes.
I acknowledge that it's a murky situation, but I think this pair of clues... I think these clues are acceptable under the rule of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if you're going to like this one.
You saying that means no.
So this one is sent in by no one on the 17th Shard Discord.
Oh.
Clue 1. This character has been mentioned on at least 4 worlds.
The God Beyond.
It is the God Beyond.
Well, there we go.
Very nice.
Nailed it.
Metagaming.
Turns out Evgeni likes this one quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know if I like God Beyond being sent as a character necessarily, but this is what Ben gave me this morning, so there you go. That's what you get.
Who's that Cosmere entity?
Who's that Cosmere entity who may or may not exist?
Cosmere entity
exists.
Yeah.
Clue 2, this character's true name is unknown. This character has never appeared on screen. People who visit this character never return. In Clue 5, this character has been ranfoed. So read and not find out. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I do find it amusing that this was sent by no one. Considering all of the God Beyond.
It's true. So our last one is from our priority queue, which if you are a Herald on Patreon, you can send in things and you will not need to wait 2 years for them to get read. But we will still be doing the other ones. So this one is sent in by John Carlfelt. So I think this is kind of a poem thing. So clue 1, this character's known in their world.
I'm gonna assume that to mean like famous or infamous. Vasher.
It's not Vasher, but
that is who I was going to guess.
Alamancer Jack.
It's not Alamancer Jack. I like that too.
Nikki Savage.
It's not Nikki Savage.
Kelsier.
It's not Kelsier. So I'm going to read the whole thing as we get the lines. This character is known in their world as a hero, but also a turd.
Oh.
So a
Dalinar.
turd.
Huh?
Dalinar?
It's not Dalinar.
It's a surprising number of characters that fit that profile.
Wayne?
Not Wayne. That's good too.
No, I don't know about the hero part.
I mean,
He's done heroic things.
as far as all the records that Marcy had.
He's a hero.
Yeah.
Hrathen?
It's not Hrathen.
Is it Uncle Kai'ine?
No, it's not Uncle Kai'ine, but I like that too.
Yeah.
Good old Dreo Crushthroat. Yeah. When we get more lore on him. This character is known in their world as a hero, but also a turd. When they kicked the bucket.
Oh man, this is a limerick.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like this. A lot.
The next line's
Thank
super
you for
fun.
sending this.
Elend?
It's not Elend.
Lord Ruler?
It is the Lord Ruler. It is Roshar. Yeah. So I'll read the whole one. This character is known in their world as a hero, but also a turd. When they kicked the bucket, they said, "Oh, just f*** it," went beyond and gave Kelsier the bird.
Yep.
That's good. That's good.
I don't know how much of this you're gonna censor, but it's
well, just the swearing part, but that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
love
you guys
it.
all can figure out what it was. So there you go. Cool.
That's great.
That was
great
excellent.
submission.
Thank you. All right. We're done. Next time, we're going to have our next episode back to 2 weeks. Maybe we could go a month without a double WoB episode. But I think, well, I'm not quite sure what will be the next episode. But it will be 2 weeks from now. But it should be super fun. You can find us on 17thshard.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun that you could ever want. You can discuss all our words of Brandon. They're in the description. You can discuss them on forums or Discord. It's super fun. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud. You can subscribe on YouTube. Send a like. Yeah, and comment something. Just write the word something. You know, if you just write the word something as a comment, that'll be good. It's good for the algorithm.
Edgley is a dragon.
Yeah, do that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That's fine.
Well, no. Let us know where you stand on that debate. Do you think
the
vessel of endowment is a dragon?
Yeah.
Or are you not convinced and you think it's
Yeah. Put your strong opinions
Do you
below.
want Ian to be your mortal enemy?
And give us some fresh Cosmere limericks. There you go.
Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, like logically, like if Edgley is not human. She's not a Shodell. So it's dragon.
Maybe she is.
I think that first if is very critical.
Yeah. yeah. We that wasn't a confirmation that she was non-human, just that there are. But I still agree. Adli is a dragon. Cool. And, you can write us a review on iTunes, and you can support us on our Patreon. Some cool stuff coming your way. Eventually, we're going to have a Kaladin episode. That's recorded. But you got patrons voted for Shallan first, so you got Shallan first. So, cool.
If you don't like Shallan, you can, give us money, and maybe your vote will.
You can dislike the video, which will also raise engagement.
Yeah. But don't do that, though.
I mean, you could, if you want.
Yeah, but don't.
Yeah.
We might judge you for it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see you. Okay. See y'all next time.
Bye.
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 Ka.